This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and welcome to the dawn, to the sunrise safari, where we have found the Talamati Pride lying up again, here close to the dam cam. It is a beautiful, beautiful morning. Looks like we're going to spend some time with some very, very fat lions. They are smelling unbelievably ripe, everybody. Unbelievably ripe. So we have stuffed our noses with some dwarf sage, which is always a winner. Now, Trishala's out and about this morning as well. I think she's going to go check up on the den. Mike is out on Pridelands on foot. Who knows what wonders he might find. Got Rowan out in Anbion Ngala and Kim in Anbion Pinda. On that note, we welcome you on board your live African safari. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands, where the Talamati Pride is lying up nice and full in the open areas here, close to Vuatela Dam. It's been a wonderful evening. We heard some of them calling not so long ago. Hello everybody, my name is Steve, joined by Gert on camera, and as always, excited and delighted to have you with us. Please do send through any questions and comments you might have using the hashtag WildEarth, or throw them in on the YouTube chat stream. If you're under the age of 18, please send an email through to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Alternatively, you can go to the website and submit your questions there. I can hear some southern ground hornbills calling. Wonder if you can hear that. It's a chilly 14 degrees Celsius, 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Definitely the cooler of the mornings since I've been back. Beck. Indeed, a lovely start with lions. So lovely to hear from you. Always a nice way to start, but you can see how some of their bellies are incredibly full. I don't think there's going to be much activity of these lions this morning. They're probably going to look at that. Now, when the belly's higher than the hip, the animal's full. So I think they're going to probably spend some time here and then maybe move into the shade. But who knows, a couple of them might be hungry. So we'll spend a little bit of time with them and see what they get up to. But not like yesterday morning, where they were looking quite empty. They got up and moved. Definitely did have hunger on the brain. This morning they have got a slumber and digestion. We are joined in the sighting by another vehicle. If you do hear some voices, it's not the voices in my head. That was way too much effort. Fanny, that's a good question. I suppose the most comfortable weather for lions would be when it's nice and cool. The temperatures are cool, but they like it in the wind as well. The wind often helps to cool things down. The wind makes it much easier for them to hunt. So predators generally like cool conditions, hence why they are more active at night when it's much cooler. But cool days with wind, lions can be very active. Yesterday morning, the clouds kept covering up the sun. But also, if lions are very full, doesn't matter if it's cool or windy, they might just lie there and do nothing. So it's also got a lot to do with those drivers. Are they hungry? If they're not, well, there's no need to move, but hungry lions will rest up in the heat and be very active in the cool, and almost immediately active in the wind. As you see with many of our pets, the wind picks up, they react to it immediately. But it's a very calm and cool morning. Okay, well, the sun is about to emerge on the horizon to make us a very nice warm day. Let's go see what the weather looks like across all properties.
Certainly sunny here. It's beautiful, although it is quite nippy. We're here on Zoe's Road, just in the west, and we're very excited. Hi everyone, it's me, Trishala. I've got Darren on camera with me. Yes, and we are excited because we've just heard some alarm calls. They're not the best quality alarm calls, but that doesn't matter. We're going to go check it out anyway. Let's take a moment to listen.
He's located 1 Ingwe, just on the western side of Sydney's dam wall.
Yes. So we wanted to look for Tabangumi this morning, and we were going to stick to the west and then go towards Sydney's dam. It seems that he's already been relocated, so that's awesome. We're going to go in that direction, and we're going to do that right now. Hopefully that means that we can stop at those or go past the area where we heard those alarm calls at the same time. It's interesting that it seems as if he hasn't moved much from last night. We saw him at Sydney's dam last night, and he was kind of moving more westward, but then he kind of flopped down and slept for a little bit. And then we had to leave the property. But it seems that he's in the same spot, which is great for us because it's been a spot that he's been using quite often. It's great when leopards do that because then we can start to build patterns and start to have a bit of foresight about where to look for new leopards especially. We know that he's been in that area, but the more consistently he shows up there, the more reliable that information becomes. Because he's already been found, we're going to take a slight detour. Okay, yeah, let's go this way and then we'll go up to Sydney's dam. I didn't quite catch who I'm sending you to, but I know that wherever I'm sending you to, it's quite a misty morning as well.
Trish, you're absolutely right. It is quite misty on Angola. So morning everyone, welcome to Anme on Angola. You are with me, Rowan, and then Paul behind the camera. It's very cold as well. Our plan for the morning is to actually go back to where we had the 2 Rossmales last night and just check around that area, see if we can find the lioness or 2 lionesses with the 5 cubs. If not, it seems like the 2 Rossmales and maybe another section of the Birmingham Pride, not too sure who yet, have killed a giraffe. That's a little bit further up north on the property, so we'll be heading there a little bit later on when the hype dies down a bit and there's space for us. But for now, yeah, we're going to head back west and then down that road called Dyko and see if we can find the 2 lionesses. and the 5 youngsters. But as I said, very, very misty morning. How's that for sunrise? And sun rose about, 14, 15 minutes ago? It's already that high up, but very misty around the riverbed. So we are actually heading away from the river, back into the center of the property. See if we can find any sign of these 2 lionesses. It's quite nice. Everyone's split up, so there are quite a couple of guides that went into the south, see if they can find the white lions. Some people coming from the north. We've got one guy going into the west, and there's already a tracker on foot looking for a male leopard. So it should be a nice morning. It warms up quite significantly. I think we're getting to a high of about 26 degrees today. So I think, there's a giraffe. There's a live giraffe. Not one with lions feeding. There's actually a couple of them. Nice journey. Looks like all females. So just enjoying the misty morning. It's quite nice for them. They can eat the leaves and get water at the same time. Not that giraffe drink a lot. Very elegant, slow way of walking. And of course, going to stop behind the only bush that is in our way. Sorry, we need to keep wiping the camera because of the mist. So I'm going to go a little bit forward. There's a few more here on our right. There we go. Vicky, it's just a genetic diversity. Like having a white line and a tawny line. So some giraffe would be whiter than other giraffe, or darker than other giraffe. It's like this one female is just enjoying the sunrise, and the other one just enjoying some food. Bending down quite low to get to that. Notice that tongue come out every now and then, wrap itself around the branch, and get some nice sweet leaves. Does seem like the mist is wearing off quite quickly, which is nice for us. Yesterday afternoon I was complaining about being too hot, and now I'm complaining about being too cold. So one thing South Africans do, we always complain about the weather. Actually, we always talk about the weather. But I think I'd rather be here than in Joburg. So it seems like Johannesburg is a lot colder than the Leopard. They're eating a river thorn. It's quite small but sweet leaves, not too much tannin in there. And of course, big thorns. But that's why they have those nice long eyelashes and the black tongue. Getting right in there. It's a whole head in the bush. So feeding around some spider webs. It looks like she got a good mouthful. And the sounds you're hearing, those are the oxpeckers. So there's one sitting right in the middle of her neck. And the bird. That one is a red-billed oxpecker, just flew off now. Went to the other giraffe. Favoritism. So they are looking for any external parasites, but on a morning like today, you often find oxpeckers just sitting and taking the most of the body heat from these animals. So that tree that they're eating from seems it might have been pushed over by an elephant years ago. So it's actually growing quite skew. It's helpful for other animals, kudus, giraffe, anything. Well, giraffe can actually get to the same level as elephants, but some of the other browsers, they can't reach that high. So elephants, when they do push the trees over, it offers food for other animals. The ones you usually be able to get to. I'm just watching the giraffe in front of us. I think it might come into the clearing. The one that paused behind a bush early on. Jessica and I, they don't get hooked by the thorns on the bush. Especially while the river thorn that they're eating from now, it's only got straight, long, white, straight thorns. But they're designed in such a way that they can actually eat from these thorny bushes. I mean, if you look closely at them, they've got very, very long eyelashes. That protects them from that. And then, yes, the tongue, you'll notice, isn't very pink or reddish. It's black in color, so there's not a lot of veins close to the surface at all. So that also helps. But you're getting right in there. Okay, so we'll let them be. Let them have their breakfast, and then we carry on in search of the 2 lionesses and their 5 cubs.
We have received our second batch of name plaques, which is super exciting, and Marcel is busy mounting them as we speak. For those of you that don't know, we are offering the opportunity for Wild Earth explorers to get their names engraved on a plaque like this. Once your name is on the plaque, it will then be attached onto the vehicle. Marcel, what are you up to?
I'm busy mounting plaques on Trusty Rusty.
This means that even though you're at home watching this, it'll still feel as though you're on the vehicle with us as we bumble about the bush. This means that V&A, Prajash, Melanie Greenwood, Linda J. Poley and Stephen Humbert will be riding along with us as we bumble through the bush, even though you're watching it from home. Now that the name plaques are on the back of the vehicle, it's time for us to head out and go and see what we can find.
Founded in 1973, the Endangered Wildlife Trust has consistently and effectively worked towards achieving our conservation legacy. Contribute to this legacy by visiting EWT's Get Wild eShop and purchase products with a purpose.
My name is Ross and I'm a field guide at and beyond Pinde Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
We have a baby pangolin. A baby pangolin. This is off the charts. This animal is about from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back to Zoom, everybody, where our lines are still very flat, and I've developed quite a sneeze since you're last with us. You might have noticed in the introduction that I had things jammed in my nose. I'd found some dwarf sage, my favorite plant, to try and assist us with the really rank smell that is coming off of this pride. And Judy H. managed to remind me, which she has done before in the past, about the medicinal uses of dwarf sage. So there's some lovely antibacterial activity in the plant. How exactly it's accessed, I'm not 100% certain. And there's also some antifungal. So very, very nice use in medicinal plants, and there has been some use in Namibia in the treatment of cancer. So some definite wonderful remedies to be designed out of a plant that smells very nice, and some very practical uses in the moment of eliminating a very, very smelly pride of lions. The vehicle that was with us before were telling me that they think the lions didn't kill that waterbuck yesterday, but the vehicle we found them with yesterday saw them chase it. The waterbuck was definitely alive when they saw it, and the feeding that we saw happening. When an animal's dead after many days, it doesn't give the same messy blood, stomach content sort of vibe as one that is freshly killed. And the smell, I think, was mixed with the smell of the pride. You can see it's a little bit misty this morning. The smell of the pride, as well as, because I smelt them in the morning, they were smelling a bit ripe. So it's not too far away. I mean, lions do scavenge. They will feed on something that is a few days old, that is past its sell-by date for the nose of many other animals. And that smell lingers. I have that sometimes when I walk outside my room, knowing that one of the hyena Juma clan have come sniffing around, and they leave behind a very foul smell. Not to judge, of course. That smell is the smell of death, the smell that follows predators around, and the smell that herbivore animals are looking for when they're sniffing the air. It's hence why we often find our predators rolling in the dung of other animals. I wonder if they know the benefits, the antifungal and antibacterial benefits of the dwarf sage. I should maybe introduce them. So if you were staying in Vuyatela Lodge today and you woke up this morning, you would wake up to see a pride of lions in front of your lodge. There it is in the background. And you know you truly are in Africa. What's this one seeing here on the right? What have you got there? See, the body language just here on the right of this individual has changed slightly. Now, lions are very opportunistic, everybody. Their bellies are full, and yet something will move and they'll have to catch it. I'm scanning with my binoculars to see what it is that it might have seen. Sometimes when you are close to lodges like this, you might see them actually reacting to people that are moving around in the lodges. So there we go. There's a duiker on the other side there. Kevin, how many waterbuck do they need to feed themselves? Well, yesterday I detailed the weight of a big male waterbuck being 230 odd kilograms, 240, and that's with the bones. So you're probably looking at about 150, 120 kilograms of meat, and a fully grown lioness needs between 30 and 40 kilograms to be full. So there are 11 of them here, including the male. I think we counted 11 male. So it's a lot of meat that they require. Obviously, each individual will get, some of them will get more than the others. I've read sometimes that even a male lion can feed up to 50 kilograms. So that's close to 100 pounds of meat. Can you imagine? I can't even imagine getting a kilogram in my belly. So when they do have big kills like giraffe and buffalo, they do pig out and they do get very, very full. But they'll need a couple waterbuck to keep them really, really sated. But that male waterbuck yesterday definitely did a very good job. The lions are looking rather full, but not all of them are looking the same. But that little duiker would be a little bit of an hors d'oeuvre, a little bit of a throat cleanser in the morning. And while Trishala has managed to find a leopard, should we go see who she's got?
It is Tavangumi, but it's going to be the only shot we get of him because he's moving into the Manyuleti. That's off to our west there, or even to the north, but he's moving to the western portion, or crossing at the west there. But isn't he just stunning? It's amazing that he managed to stay in this. This is pretty much the exact spot that I left him in last night. So the fact that he's stayed here, at least to grace us with this short but sweet sighting of him in the morning, I'm very thankful for that. Isn't he beautiful? Now, what's quite unique about him is that his spots, or his rosettes, seem to have a spot in the middle. And a lot of the leopards that we're used to seeing here don't actually have those. So that's a very, very unique to him from the leopards that we see, at least. So that's a nice way for you to identify him. Like I said to you before, the signal is very poor down here. It's right at the edges of where we can broadcast from, and that's because it's right here by the Manuleti boundary. And so is he. And as soon as he crosses that big tree, he would be gone into the Manuleti. There he goes. Or at least towards the cut line there. That was sweet. I'd call that sweet, guys. I can try to move and see if that makes a difference. But you might lose us. Okay, perfect. I'm going to send you back to Steve in the meantime with the lines. I'm going to try and reposition, see if we can get him on the boundary at least.
Welcome back, and excuse me very much, everybody. I think I might have a little bit of dwarf sage stuck in my nasal passages. Lions in the early morning. Excuse me. A nice big boy there. You might have heard the hippo. Excuse me, I do apologize, everybody. I've plugged my nose before with dwarf sage, but I think this time I got a few of the flowers up there, as the dwarf sage I had with me on hand was quite limited in its foliage. There's one of the youngsters there. So we know lions often spend time close to water, predators in general. See, Tswalu was there by the dam. He was there all night. They know that other animals will come. We know, we check. We check every day, don't we? Sometimes the watering holes are not as active because of the abundance and availability of water. Predators, obviously, two birds with one stone. They come to have a drink, and then they lay up close by. It's always worth checking if you ever are on a self-drive tour in the Mara or Serengeti or in the Kruger and you get to a watering hole. Don't just drive past, have a little stop. Scan the shady areas. You might find a pack of wild dogs. You might find a leopard. You might find a pride of lion. I've found many in the past. Just chilling. In the Mara, the sort of status quo of finding lions is to drive around and find a high point, climb onto a roof, scan with the binoculars wherever there's shade, and there you find them. Freddie, yes, hippos do get hunted. The Nkuhuma Pride killed a hippo Chitwa year before last. I can't remember if it was year before last or last year. But it's not uncommon for them to hunt hippo, but it's a very dangerous meal. Now, I had some friends shooting a National Geographic film years ago on Singita when I was working there, 2008 or 9. And they were filming a pride of lions there called the Mountain Pride. And that Mountain Pride, when I started, was 24 lions strong. So they were doing a documentary on a mega pride. And my good friend was actually the driver and the light man. Well, Nathan was on the back with the camera. They were out in a vehicle very similar to what we have, but they weren't doing live. They were doing documentary-style filming. And a hippo came out of the water, and the pride of lions jumped on its back. They were all right by its bottom. None of them were brave enough to go near the head. And the hippo actually turned, and somehow managed to catch a lioness by the face. One tusk went through the bottom of the jaw, one went behind the right eye, and it picked her up like a rag doll, swung her left and right a few times, and then flung her about 20, 30 meters. She rolled a bit, tumbled, and you know that sight when you see someone who's been hit too hard, they decide to just lie down. She just laid down. I thought she was dead when I saw the footage. And then all the lions decided that this was a very, very bad idea and left the hippo alone to run back into the water. So a lioness weighs 135, 140 kilograms, 270, 300 pounds. Imagine picking that up and just throwing it around like you would a petal or a flower. So hippos have got very low center of gravity, very thick skin, very hard to bring them down onto the ground and to open the belly or to get around the throat. So they're not an easy animal to kill. And lions do every now and again, but it is a very risky business. Interestingly enough, that lioness survived. She lost the use of that eye. I think it severed the optical nerve behind the eye. She was quite uncomfortable for some weeks, but she was fine. Quite incredible to survive such an attack. But it just goes to show how resilient and tough these animals are. Okay, well, Prylands is out and about, and Mike is on foot and willing to say good morning.
So we are out and about. It's a crispy, bright morning in the Lowveld, and we are sitting at a hyena den, one that has just been recolonized by the Prylands clan. Hi everyone, my name is Mike Anderson, behind the camera is Glenn, and this is Eco Training's Prylands Conservancy, where, as you see, we did come on the vehicle just to check this den site out on our way to our walking spot, just to see if the clan is still here, and we did have one youngster, which was quite fantastic. It seems to have gone to the sunny side of the den, which we can get to. We just didn't want to move around too much because we've only just established a track coming to this den. It is the old den, the original den that they used to use when we first came to Prylands. As you can see, it's really well established there. But this is the shadowy side, the western side of the den. And the youngster that we saw when we arrived, is probably somewhere around about 6 months old, moved to the sunny side a few moments ago. So when we can, we'll reposition that side and see if we can get a view. But it's so nice to know that they're using this den again. It was abandoned for almost 6 to 8 months, as far as we can tell, which would have given it plenty of time to get rid of any parasites that were building up, any smells of their habitation, so that they could now re-establish it and start using it again. We know that the other den being used, which is in unfortunately a very poor signal area, we can't really show you that one, has hyenas at the moment as well. So seems like the clan is split slightly in order to have more space. It's really nice and quiet here, beautifully calm and clear this morning, with a little bit of mist that was settled a bit earlier, which is now moving up as it warms up, being burnt off by the rays of the sun. Gabby, that's a great question. So Gabby, hyena clans can sometimes split when there is a little bit of conflict between what would be the leader, the matriarch, and some of the subordinate females who might also want to mate and produce young. Sometimes there's a little bit of conflict over who's in charge, and then they can split into slightly smaller groups, still associating with the larger clan, but maybe raising their youngsters slightly separately to avoid any fighting. Sometimes you might find that if a clan gets too large, the den can't really support all the youngsters, and so they make different spaces. And just simply parasite loads can cause a group of hyenas to move their youngsters separately. Too many youngsters defecating, urinating, and also feeding close to the den brings lots of parasites and can attract other predators. So, Gabby, that's probably why these hyenas are using multiple den sites. We know that the Pridelands clan is at least between 13 and 17 hyenas strong. And I don't know if there are new youngsters which might even add to that total. So it's quite a decent group of hyenas. It's probably why the lions have been fairly scarce recently, just moving through but not sticking around on the property. Except for Lagatha, of course, our single warrior lioness, who seems to be doing just fine avoiding their attentions. Speaking of lions, we'll send you over to Steve, who's got some right now.
Welcome back. We are indeed still with our lions. We are being joined by another vehicle. So you might hear some cars, but behind us, because this time of day, it's a time when animals like to come and drink. And there are some impalas shouting at these lions. They're going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" They're doing a little bit of a nasal shout. It's a call we often look for when we are out and about, because it's a very good indication of a predator. Goodness, that wind has shifted again. So, we were talking yesterday about the grooming. Obviously, the lions are very clean by now, but there's still a little bit of love required. Some of them will generally go around to each individual one and give a little bit of a head lick. Bit of a, "I'm sorry I gave you such a hard time yesterday." That's what keeps them together. It's what keeps the bonds together. The lionesses and the pride are incredibly well bonded, and they rely on each other heavily for everything it is that they go through. Look at the belly difference between the two. Okay, well, this could be interesting. I think she's going for a pee. Oh, I can't watch. Oh no, she's not going for a pee, everybody. She's adding some flavor to the morning. Now, a little bit of word of advice for any of you aspiring guides out there, anybody who wants to drive around in a vehicle in these areas, is make very careful note of where the landmines are, and do not drive in it, because you will not only upset yourself and your guests, but the look, if you have a tracker, the look on your tracker's face when you drive through lion scat. Well, you'll never live that one down, because generally trackers at lodges are responsible for keeping the cars clean. Generally, some lodges don't have trackers, and then it's the guide's responsibility, but it's not the nicest thing to have to remove off of a wheel. Just a little tip from me to you out there. I'm sure it's pretty obvious. Okay, I'm going to move quickly because I think she's going to drink. Miller, the tuft on the tail is a communication signal. First of all, the cubs can follow the adults. They can follow them, and also when they are hunting, they follow each other by their ears. And the tail is a very good indication of their mood. A lion's tail swishes and flicks, and the cubs will follow it when they're walking. Leopards have got the white spot, and then lions actually communicate a lot with the back of their ears as well as the tail. And I'm pretty sure the pride themselves utilizes the visual aspects of that tail for probably more things than we can even realize. But if you have a lioness on foot, before she's about to run at you, that tail is going to flick up and down. So it's very good for us as well to know that she's angry, the tail's going left and right. As soon as she's about to come at you at full steam, right, is this going to work? Right over. Oh, how beautiful. How beautiful. I managed to do all of that smoothly, and then as I parked, I knocked my coffee. Anyway, we live and we learn. Beautiful light in the early morning. Photograph is true. There we go. That's the young male. I'm going to drink right next to her. Just listen to the sounds. There is a hippo over there. Do you know why he's laughing? The lions are drinking and he goes, ha ha ha, I just peed in there. Poet, what a beautiful picture indeed. Indeed. Doesn't need any words, does it? Picture tells 1,000 stories. I'm going to stay here because there's another adult coming down to drink. See if she comes and joins them. Beautiful light. And the green little sort of floating plant just in front of the lions there is called the creeping Ludwigia. It's an aquatic plant that is really, a few weeks ago, was taking over. We found it on all of our watering holes, was doing very, very well. It's now fallen back quite a bit. It's definitely more on the watering holes than there was in previous years. She's doing a little bit more awkward. Another male will come down shortly to join. You see the size difference between the two males. As one departs, the bigger of the two is about to join. Look at the size difference there. Oh, he's a boy. He's like, why are you drinking in the mud? It's quite nice over there. There's obviously a survival strategy. If you saw the footage out of Pinder with the cheetah and the crocodile a little while ago, lions are very aware of crocodiles at water. You see the adult drinks right on the edge where the mud is, knowing there's potentially some risks involved, and youngsters with lots of lessons to learn are moving into the more open area. Daniel, they get a fair amount of their water from the blood in the carcasses that they feed on, but they will drink whenever the opportunity presents itself. They'll often drink every day. I think they can probably go for a day or two without drinking, but you never see that happen. Lions in general, and leopards and hyenas, their territories overlap water sources. So they encounter water daily, and they will always drink whenever it's available. Often walking quite a distance to drink if they do have a kill, but waiting for the temperatures to be at a suitable sort of level. The female on the left, so delicate in her licks. The male, so boisterous and loud. Those of you just joining us this morning, this is the Talamati Pride. And if you missed yesterday's afternoon show, they finished off a big male waterbuck early on in the show last night. Now you can't see it, but the hippo is coming a bit closer. I wonder, that's why that male's looking up. I don't think he will come right to the edge. He's definitely letting the lions know that this is his spot. He's moved past that bush now and he's actually closing in. Caused the male to move away. Corin, I don't actually know. It comes from the voice box, so it sounds as if it comes from the throat. So it comes out of the mouth and the nose at the same time. I don't really know the process of it. If you try to demonstrate it yourself, it's definitely coming from the back of the throat. And it just, I suppose, it echoes in the face, in the large bony mouth. But they have huge respect for hippos. Anything that's bigger than them, they generally think, okay, well, you're much bigger than me. But every now and again, the inquisitiveness of young lions. I've seen youngsters trying to hunt rhino before, just out of curiosity. And, well, like a hippo, it's not a very easy animal to catch. Very powerful, very, very strong. I'll tell you, if we drank like that, we'd probably be thirsty all day. There's actually a design in dogs' and cats' tongues. I don't know exactly how it works, but when you see them licking like that, it's actually pulling the water in underneath the tongue. I've seen some slow-mo videos of it, and it's actually a very efficient way of drinking. Probably not as efficient as a buffalo that sticks its mouth in and just drops its diaphragm and just absorbs the water. It's not as graceful as an elephant. It's quite sloppy and saliva-ridden. So if we could slow-mo that, you'd actually see that the water's going up and under the tongue. It definitely doesn't seem to be the most productive way, but if you've ever put milk in a bowl for a cat, you notice they manage to get it up pretty well. Dogs as well. There's our little short stubby tail female. She is the smallest member of the pride, but she's definitely got the most attitude. You have to have a lot of attitude to make up for your size if you want to survive in amongst the bigger animals. Tenacious. If you ever do find a small lion in a pride, they often have a really, really honey badger sort of way about them, so as to compete. Otherwise, if they're small and don't have that behavior, they get outcompeted and wither away.
We all have a busy schedule and a lifestyle which is confined to stress and tensions. For so many of us, the hustle and bustle of a tedious life has meant we have lost our inner peace. Traveling is an ultimate remedy that lets us unwind and helps us experience peace in the lap of nature. Wild Earth encourages the benefits of travel by giving away an amazing prize every month.
I was totally overwhelmed to receive this fantastic prize of 3 nights at Tswalu. Wild Earth has been a lifesaver for us during the pandemic and has kept us sane. Thank you so very much, Wild Earth.
Sign up to be an explorer today, and it could be you jetting off on an all-expenses-paid-for safari experience. Wild Earth Explorers. It's in your nature.
And I find getting out to a local royal park brings me so much closer to nature. I can leave my pain at home. And like watching Wild Earth, I find it's the most amazing way to step out of life's difficulties and just breathe.
The chirping and fluttering of these Java finches at the feeder in our garden helps us start each day joyfully in connection with nature.
So this is our piece of nature that we've been enjoying and has been keeping us sane during lockdown. This morning we have 8 oyster catches on our beach, which is a real treat.
Hug a tree, Steve, just for you.
I love being a cam-up for Wild Earth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
As you can see, our little young spotted hyena has finally come out of the den. I'm having to talk quite quietly because he's been playing musical chairs with us, going from one side of the den to the other, but finally now seems to have more or less settled. Having a good old sniff at something around there. So this is a young hyena, probably about somewhere between 5 and 8 months. It's quite difficult to say. But you can see it's still got black socks and black legs. Still got very prominent spots and very, very fluffy and small. Still technically classed as a floof, as far as I'm aware. And there goes our little spotted hyena. Once again, daring us to follow. Classic. But I'm glad you got a glimpse of it, which is so fantastic. This den site did not have good signal for us before, but now it seems to have miraculously come right. So hopefully we can have a lot more opportunities to watch these young ones grow and develop over the next few months, as long as they use this den. It's a very fantastic den with a huge brown ivory tree creating shade in the hot part of the day. Lots of small bushes and shrubs around it, keeping it sheltered from view, but also relatively open. Lots of grass around that will sort of die down and back, creating a nice, good outward view for the young cubs to spot any potential danger approaching the den from a distance. So from the outside looking in, it's quite well sheltered. From the inside looking out, nice and open to spot the danger. Which is a perfect little den site with multiple entrances and exits. We've seen at least 3 or 4 different holes here at this den, so it means plenty of space, plenty of little hidey holes, and who knows, I mean, if this den has just started to be used now, we saw one youngster somewhere around 5 months old. Could be more youngsters, much younger. I'm not sure if I've still got any audio, unfortunately. Seems like we might have lost. How deep is the hole? Oh, question. How deep is the hole? That's a great question. I'm not exactly sure how deep this hole can be, but it can be a few meters, at least a few meters, 5 or 6 meters at times in length. In depth, a couple of meters, and that's why we have to stay relatively away from the den. We are probably here at least 15 meters or so away from the actual termite mound, because if we were to drive too close, there's every chance that these den sites can collapse under the weight of the vehicle. So we have to stay very away from it, and when we drive around, we drive slowly and carefully, looking carefully for any other exits and entrances. Really, really important to make sure we stay nice and careful around these den sites, and we also don't want to disturb them in case there are some very young ones in there who are not yet used to the sound of vehicles or our voices. So we need to have a very slowly, softly approach so that they can get used to us over time. Haven't yet seen an adult at the den site. So it could be that if there is an adult, she's inside the den itself, suckling a youngster. This is all speculation. We've only just rediscovered the den. We haven't seen any very young ones yet, but we're just hoping that maybe we can be lucky enough. Right, we're probably going to leave this den now, give it time to relax. The youngster will come out maybe, and we'll go to another spot to start our walk. In the meantime, we'll send you over to Tswalu Chuma.
That is very cute. Some more hyenas and a little one at Pridelands. Awesome. Well, we're actually close to the den at the moment, so we're going to swing past, have a look. It's quite nice when we're live when we do that, because often we don't get much activity at the den anymore. So when we're live, at least we might be able to give you a bit of a drive-by of the cubs, because obviously you know we can't stay there when there aren't any adults around. At this time of day, they're generally, well, it's starting to heat up, so they might not be around, but we're going to go find out. I didn't see too much on the way here in terms of tracks or anything like that. So it'd be nice to just take a breather at the den and then move back towards those northern areas and see if there is a space for us to get back. Okay, people, we're almost round the corner, which means that very soon we could be seeing little cubs. I see nothing. No, no one's home. Let's do a quick turn around here. Okay. Well, no one's home. That's okay. I want to head up to the north anyway. I'm going to send you over to Ngala. Maybe they'll give you a bit of an update. Maybe they have something to show you.
So we checked the last area where the rice males were last night. It's quite funny. The one rice male obviously just continued further north, bumped into some of the other Birmingham lionesses. It's the female with the 13-month-old cubs and then 2 sub-adults. Joined them, killed a giraffe, and now he's happy, full-bellied, and right, up in the north. The other rice male, for some arbitrary reason, turned around and he walked down south again, so we found his tracks, and he missed the whole meal. So I don't know why, but now what we're actually doing is just looping around. We want to see where his tracks actually went. But shame, it's just bad timing for this guy. He should have just stayed with his brother. Unhappy zebra. Calling somewhere to our left. So you try to go a little bit forward, see if we can find the zebra. Can't actually see it, but the grass is very, very long here. Bobby, I think this question came through yesterday. And so it depends on how strong and how big the lion is. And that one will eat first. So usually males come bolting in and they scare off the females and they'll eat as much as they possibly can, and they usually start a fight with each other and the females when they come and join in. But often male lions would let their cubs feed along with them. There's some impalas here, but they seem quite relaxed. I can't find the zebra. Could have just been 2 males fighting and making sounds. Anyway, let's carry on. Yeah, Bobby, so it depends on how big the lion is. Size is everything out here. Judy, you're gonna have to just keep tuned and wait till I get there, and then we'll see if it's a baby or not a baby. It was just called in as a giraffe, but I can imagine that it would be 3 lionesses and 1 big male. All that adds up to about nearly a ton in weight. So I've never seen a giraffe hunt in person, but I've seen quite a few nature documentaries, and they tend to jump on the bum, on the rump of the giraffe, and then drag it down. But keep tuned, because we are heading that way, and then we'll try to figure out whether it was a baby, a female, or a male. It's all rather misty, but it's a lot warmer now. Okay, so we're going to start heading up north towards this giraffe carcass with the pride on it. But while we do that, we'll send you to Steve with his lines.
Welcome back. Thank you, Rowan. We are still with our lines, and Darkmane drank, and it almost feels like the water level of the dam dropped by quite a lot. The hippo has not done any more since, and now all the lions decided they've quenched their thirst. It's time to lie flat. They found the shade. Of course, where they were before is all fully in sun right now. Down here next to the water's edge. Nice and shady. It also requires very little energy to move away. Ground is nice and cool. But as the sun gets higher and higher, that area will be very exposed. So you can almost look around and have a look for the shady parts, and you'll be able to figure out where you might find the lions later. Curious bystander. Waterguard, it really depends on where in Africa you find them. I mean, in Botswana, the lions, because of the Okavango Delta sort of area, the lions are quite well adapted to water and they hunt in it. But here in the Kruger, I've never seen lions actively going into water unless they've fallen in or unless they've tackled an animal and then fallen in the water that way. They don't like it. They get wet by the rain, but they generally try and keep themselves from getting too wet. You saw, I'm not sure if you watched the other day, the wild dogs made that kill. They were also staying away from the water, but until eventually too much of it, animal was too close, they went and it got it. There's a lot of danger lurking in the water, and I think these animals know it. They have an innate sort of knowledge of the fact that there's crocodiles in the water that lurking and are looking to feed. By staying clear of the water, they survive. But in the Delta, as I say, there's lions there that are well adapted to running through water, but I think that water's also quite shallow. Never been up, definitely on the bucket list. Sometimes, for example, you'll find where water is running across a road, when the streams or the rivers are full. And often we'll find leopards or lions will look at that water and will actually hiss at it. They go, "What are you doing? Where did the water come from?" They're not fans. Not fans at all. Although I honestly believe this pride could do with a solid bath. It's a nice peaceful moment here at the watering hole with the Talamati pride.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm sure that we're going to get Steve back in no time. Luckily for us, there's a space up in Buffalo Dung, so we can go back onto the property, and then we can catch up and see if we can find Tabangumi again. So apparently he's had a kill that's in a tree, but it's not, there's just about a leg left. But I don't want to tell you about it, I want to show you. So let's have a go. I'm in a busy area at the moment. That's okay, we'll have a look at the lovely grass and quarantine while we let all the vehicles pass us. You can see that it's been trimmed, and that's great for game. Game will come through, lots of antelope and other small creatures, lots of birds out in the grass as well. Really, really beautiful. Grasses have the advantage of being able to grow even when trampled, as opposed to seedlings. So if seedlings are trampled, they're likely to die because they grow from the edges, not from the base, whereas grasses continue to grow from the base. So if they get trampled, they can survive. And grasses actually developed quite late in evolutionary history. So they're quite new in terms of, at least compared to tree vegetation. And they are a type of angiosperm, so they are flowering plants, but they're in a group called Poaceae. Full of very cool adaptations, but I mean, so are trees. Vegetation sometimes really doesn't get the credit it deserves. All right, let's move on. Now that most of the vehicles have gone past. Excuse me. Freeze, you'd like to know if I think that it's only predatory animals that yawn. Nope, I don't think that at all. I think it's quite common for many animals to yawn, including birds, including reptiles, including antelope, which are not predatory. Because the function of a yawn is to be able to cool down your brain by inhaling air. So you know when you breathe through your nose, right? The air gets warmed by the vessels in your nose. You can almost feel it when you breathe in cold air and it gets warm again. But when you yawn, you're forced to take in a big gulp of air. And that cools down the palates. That's the underside of your mouth, or the roof of your mouth. Oh, there. And that cools the blood, that cools your brain. So that's the purpose of yawning. Yawning is not to gulp up more oxygen. I think when I was little, that was what I was told. Yawning is so that you can take in more oxygen, but that's not true. It's so that you can cool down your palate, which in turn cools down your blood, and the blood that goes to your brain. Excuse me. So there's no reason why a non-predatory animal should not have the ability to yawn. The reason why we see it most often in predatory animals is that predators, again, it's long story, I'm trying to keep it short. Predators move a lot. Their lifestyle involves them back prehistory. In the first animal, first organism
Hello everybody, sorry about any technical issues you might be receiving that side. It's not always easy getting a great signal in all of these wonderful little areas. We've moved on from our lines as they were very flat. We're going to go and see what else we can find. We're heading east, looking for some tracks. See what else has been moving in the dawn, and we might go find a nice quiet place to have a quiet coffee. What do you think, Gert? Patrick, I honestly have no idea. I'm sorry to laugh at you, Patrick, but that's a funny question. Patrick wants to know, everybody, if there's any bird that can sneeze. I really don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I've been sneezing all morning, but now I know there's a whole world of viewers out there. Anyone know if a bird can sneeze? Let me know, please. Send through your answer to #WildEarth, throw to the YouTube chat stream. Have you heard or seen a bird sneeze? I never have. I don't know if they can. Talking about birds, though, I think we might have our purple roller again on the top of this tree in front of us here. A little bit better light, just up above. Is it the purple? It might be the lilac, but I think immediately, yes. Beautiful, beautiful of the purple roller. Now, if we him, I have nasal passages for smelling. Tail is sort of square bottom, Malaxo's roller. But the lilac-breasted roller, when they go through a molt, but that's on the streaky white on the chest seems to be a very good characteristic feature in that white eyebrow. And if you look closely, it's actually got quite a nice overall purple appearance. It's a very pretty bird. Lilac-breasted roller's got lots more colours. And this one, colours. And this one, although it looks very much like the lilac-breasted roller in shape and size, is a little bit bigger. So Indigo Girl thinks birds do sneeze. Now, is that they do or you think, Indigo Girl? Have you seen one sneeze? I don't know. I've never heard of a bird sneezing. It's possible. I mean, how else do you get the dust out of your nose? I wonder if it feels good for a bird to sneeze as well, because it feels really good to sneeze, I think. I'm a fair believer that when you want to sneeze, you must let it out. Holding it in, I don't think is good for you. Each their own, I won't judge. So Racina says parrots sneeze. I suppose I've never owned a bird or anything like that, so those of you who've seen it answering the question have obviously probably seen it, so thank you. That takes the question that I laughed at earlier back to a serious note, and it seems as if we can confirm that birds sneeze. We learn every day. So Twitching can confirm that budgies also sneeze. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Now, can you confirm whether they enjoy it or not? We're going to have to do a bird survey, get together our pencil and paper and go around to every bird. We'll start with this one. Mr. Purple Roller. Yes. Can you sneeze? Oh. He just told me what he thought of my question. He plunged and he dived and he landed again. And has he caught something? He has indeed, which he's now going to batter against. No, he's just going to eat it whole. What fantastic eyesight to have seen whatever giant insect that was. Now, definitely, if I took something like that, as big as that was, and swallowed it, I'd definitely gag. Birds definitely don't have a gagging reflex. They're able to take very large organisms that are often still alive and shove them down their throat. Goes into the crop where it's stored for a while. Crop is often used for storage so as to take back to the nesting site. But it's also like a pocket where you can hold on to things and digest them later. And off he goes. What a splendid sight of a purple roller. We're going to carry on. I think it's about time we found ourselves a nice quiet coffee stop. Maybe take off a layer or two. It's starting to get a bit warm in the sun. Just show the orange-breasted bushshrike in the background. We're going to carry on, find ourselves a nice quiet place to disrobe and to have a coffee.
Take 27. I'm Carol from Chicago, USA. This is me 5 years ago. No music, no editing, real time. I was hooked. Thank you so much for that, Wild Earth.
I had lost my job, and I also lost one of my pets. So Wild Earth has seen me through very hard times, and I just want to thank all of you for being there for me when I needed you most.
We love you. We start and end our day with you, teaching our grandkids all about nature through you, your wonderful educational safaris.
We really do appreciate being on safari with you, especially when it's cold and wintry in Canada.
And considering we've been in lockdown for 18 months here in Saudi and have not been able to fly back to South Africa, I want to thank you for bringing your safari back into my life every single day and night. I love it, love it, love it.
The Mara Triangle is a jewel in the Kenyan conservation crown, and thanks to the dedication of the Mara Conservancy, it thrives as one of Earth's greatest national treasures.
We have been experiencing a reduction in the waste nets that we collect on a monthly basis, and this is basically attributed to our intense patrols.
Over the years, this courageous team of anti-poachers has reduced poaching to almost zero.
Mimi naitwa Stephen Olereso. Nimefanya kazi miaka 16 sasa, kuanzia miaka 2002. Hao wanadamu ni wenye utua sana sana inaogofya ni wale wenye wanaenda kama ndovu. Wanatumia kama bunduki. Sasa hiyo ndio huwa inakuanga hatari sana sana kwa sisi.
As a result of the global pandemic and the massive reduction in tourist revenue, the Mara Triangle is facing a financial crisis. They need your help if they are to continue their ability to protect this magical land.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Well, you're with me again. moving through Juma. We're going to go find ourselves a quiet spot to have a coffee. I've taken off one layer and a buff. It's amazing how warm a buff can keep you. It's one of the tricks I learned in my time snowboarding. Wear all of your layers, wear 2 buffs. As soon as you feel a bit warm, just take off 1 buff. Amazing how much heat gets lost. And then when you're feeling warm again, another buff before you take off that big jacket, because taking off the jacket, often all the body temperature just goes, and well, then you get quite cold. Not that the temperatures here are anything to go by, like the Swiss Alps, the French Alps. Okay, well, we're going to carry on through here and send you over to Trish, who, well, she's got a cat up a tree.
He's up a tree. We're back at Tavangumi, everyone. He's basically got his kill in a spot where we're very lucky that he's still in Buffalo and not onto the Manyaleti. So that's awesome. You can see there's not too much left of it. Just maybe about 20-30% of that carcass left. And it was actually on the ground. And then he quickly dragged it up into the tree because a hyena came along. Looks like heart. Then he almost dropped it. So now he's going to eat as much as he can. The presence of a hyena always makes them eat a little bit faster. But this is perfectly, we are perfectly positioned to watch him very likely drop that bottom half of the carcass and the hyena to get something to eat. Now if we listen carefully, you're going to hear his powerful jaws and teeth at work. And those carnassials, those teeth that are modified to act as shears. Obviously, watching a carcass is not particularly pleasant. It can be gruesome. So you can look away as I point something out at this moment. Oh wait, let's see if there's some action here. Okay, so I want to point out, if you look at the bottom of the carcass that's hanging, I mean, you can barely tell what it is because it's been well eaten. But the leg, there's an impala's leg that's hanging there, and there's also bits of the internal parts of the impala. And you can see where it's been dragged through the grass because there's grass all over that, so he's unlikely to eat that. Now, he's more likely to just go after what he's got left, which is basically some neck meat and a lot of bone. So they will eat the smaller bones, but they won't be able to crack open the larger bones that the hyenas can. Matthews, you say, look at this beautiful coat. Wow. He's such a stunning cat. He really is. He is just really, really, really beautiful. Yeah, when you look at a leopard and you see their coat, it's such a shame because you can see exactly why it's such a prized symbol, status symbol to have the skin or the fur of a leopard because it's so beautiful. And the thing is, it looks far better on the leopard than it does anywhere else. It's just such a shame, and you can't deny it. When you look at them, they're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. He's going in for the neck now. So before we got cut off earlier, I was telling you about predator-prey interaction that went on millions and millions of years ago and how it's still important, that relationship is still important today. And here we're seeing an example of it. Predators, the first predators had to expend more energy to have an active lifestyle instead of just engulfing whatever floated past them in the ocean. They actively had to seek them out, and so more energy was being used. More energy also meant more toxins. More energy also meant that they would overheat more easily than a prey species. And that's why, coming back to the question we had earlier, that's why we see predators yawning a lot more than we see others, because they tend to overheat a lot more easily than prey species do. This is dangly bits for days. Hi, Simon something. I got part of your name, but don't worry, my director will help me with the rest of your name. Ah, Simon is home. Simon is home. You'd like to know if they typically leave the intestines? Yeah, they will. So what they'll do is they'll try and disembowel the animal. They won't eat the rumen and the intestinal area. And that makes a lot of sense, especially for leopards, because they need to hoist their kill. And so what they would typically do is they'd take down their prey, then they'd open up the stomach area, disembowel it, take out all those bits that they're not going to eat, and then they'll hoist. Otherwise, they're expending extra energy trying to hoist a couple extra kgs up a tree when they don't need to. Oh, look at that. This is really taunting. If I were a hyena and I saw 3 dangly bits like this off a tree, I would be just in a pool of saliva at the bottom of the tree. We're quite lucky to see him like this morning, because there's not much of this carcass left at all. This is This is an interesting part for me. You know, sometimes you just can't help giggle at their behavior, regardless of how macabre some of it may be, or the whole situation is. You can't help but giggle at the way that they'll paw at the head and try to pull it up, and all these things that seem so out of the realm of our reality. But this is every day for them. So for me personally, I always find the head very interesting, the head of the prey. Because sometimes when I'm watching leopards, they don't eat the head, they don't crack it open to get to some very nutritious bits. And then sometimes they do. I remember that time with Kalamba, and she just went all out on this impala. But it was also a young male, so she was eating the horns, she ate the brain, eyes, everything, nose. So it'll be interesting to see if he does something similar, because those are really, really nutritious parts of an animal. But this is an older ram, impala ram, so perhaps it's not as easy as it was with that young male that Kalamba had in the past. Okay, let me send you over to Pridelands. We'll obviously stick around here.
As you can see, we left the den and we've come up to a lovely spot which is very dry at the moment, called Leopards. And I've been looking for something for quite a while. Every time we go past these dried mud pans, what I'm looking for is the evidence of where buffalo has cleaned its body by rubbing against a log like this. And I've actually found right over here evidence of how effective these mud wallows and then the rubbing on these trees is. That is a hard-bodied tick that has been caught in the clay mud and ripped off the body of the buffalo and was stuck here, unable to move. Pretty amazing. And now we only found one here, and there's a second one on this log as well. But almost certainly this buffalo would have removed probably dozens, if not hundreds of ticks when it did this. Most of them would have escaped, but some of them, like this one here, got trapped. And it's a really effective way of these buffaloes removing the parasites that otherwise things like oxpeckers didn't get. So that's pretty amazing. It's really, really effective. So we were talking about the differences between hard-bodied and soft-bodied ticks, Glenn and I. So this is a hard-bodied tick. Very, very difficult to squash. You know, they've got this very thin body with a hard plate on the back called a scutum. It's actually really, really hard. It's like, feels like a scale. And the mouth part you can see is actually, my stomach is, if you're hearing growling animals, that's actually my stomach. You can see the mouth part at the front here is exposed. A soft-bodied tick is much larger with a fat, soft body, and the mouth part is actually underneath. And these ones here can spread a lot of diseases. Thank goodness here in southern Africa we don't have too many that affect humans. I mean, there are probably a few, but it's not like Europe or the Americas where there are just dozens of really quite debilitating diseases like Lyme disease or even Lone Star disease, I think it's called, the one which makes you allergic to meat. How crazy is that? Here we just get something called tick bite fever, which will lay you low a bit, but it's relatively easy to get rid of. But it's pretty cool. And from here, what we're going to be doing is heading down in roughly that direction there. You can see it's nice and cool still. The sun is out, it's bright, but it's still early and it's still very nice and cool. We're going to walk past this mud wallow and down towards Ndlovu Dam, where hopefully we can find some animals on the way. Something like zebras, maybe. We might find giraffes. We've seen a few already this morning. So you can see many animals like elephants and buffaloes would have come here when it was a bit wetter. But it's very, very dry now. Animals will still come through this area because of the sort of memory that there used to be water here. But they'll have to head down to Ndlovu Dam in order to get to any mud. So whilst we make our way down there, we'll keep you updated if we find anything, and we'll send you over to Juma in the meantime.
Have a look at that. How long the parts of... Oh, the impala are hanging. Oh, he's trying so hard to keep it in the tree. But you can see that they're quite close to the ground, almost halfway down to the ground. The problem is that he's now got a carcass that is particularly heavy on one side, so he's got to be very careful about how he places it on this branch and any movement that he makes. But I think it's quite interesting because it's quite an intuitive thing, you know, if something's heavy, to pull it from this side or that side to balance it out. It's one of those things you feel like you don't need to be taught, you just feel it out. And it's interesting that it seems to be the same for leopards. And I'm going to assume for many animals, that intuitive balance. So he seems to know exactly how to place it with it not sliding off, considering that it's got a whole head with horns. And kind of just the rest of the body that's got not much weight at all. Hi, Renee. You'd like to know if they could still eat it if the meat is rotten. I mean, they'll eat meat that's about 4, maybe even 5 days old. And I've seen it look very, I'd say rancid. I've seen it look pretty bad, and a leopard still eating it. It may not sit well with it, with the leopard. I've seen Tlalamba throw up a couple times. I've seen Hasana throw up. So there's definitely times when meat is not okay, but they can eat it after it's been 4 or 5 days even. And meat out here in the sun, yeah, after about 4 or 5 days, it's definitely not at its best. And you can actually see it starts to blacken. It's like clotting blood and things like that, so it's definitely far from fresh. Hello, heart.
There's a mobile after coffee, any update?
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Hi, nature. You'd like to know if leopards will eat bones? They will, especially if it's smaller bones. So, like some ribs, things like that, smaller bones that you'll find internally. They'll try to eat them, but they can't digest them. So if you look into the scat of leopards or lions, you'll find fur and bits of bone. So they'll crush it, at least those that they can crush, but they just can't dissolve it. They can't digest it in the same way that a hyena can. So if you look at a hyena's scat, you're not going to find pieces of bone, but you will find that the whole thing becomes calcified, that it becomes white, and that's from their digestion of the bone. All that calcium. Heart's walked away a little bit. Tavangumi's looking at her walk away. Bone marrow is really nutritious. Ooh. Oh, I almost feel a little embarrassed for him. I guess with a belly his size at the moment, I can't imagine it's easy to maneuver it easily across the branches. So these leopards won't be able to crack open big, femur bones and things like that. But that's why hyenas have the advantage when it comes to that time, when there's just that left of a carcass. Okay, let me send you over to Ngala. They've also got some cats at a carcass.
So there we have the dark-maned rossmale lying right next to a giraffe. They've eaten quite a bit of it already. From this angle, it's really hard to tell whether it was fully grown. It doesn't really look like it was a fully grown giraffe. It wasn't a baby. But every now and then he lets out a growl if he hears grass rustling. So I think he's actually protecting the carcass, even though I don't think he can fit any more into his belly. Actually, he's breathing quite quickly as well. I think you'll see it in a bit. But it is funny to hear him growl every now and then. So what we have in this area is the rossmale, and there's an old lioness. One of the young lioness with the 2 13-month-old babies. There should be 2 sub-adults here. We've only seen one, and then a very old lioness as well. So quite a few lions scattered just around us. I'll try to show you a few more. And literally right next to the road. The nice thing is they'll definitely be here all day and probably tonight as well. It'll be interesting to see. Oh, it's cloudy now, so no vultures in the area, but I'm pretty sure hyenas will catch the scent of this fairly soon. So I think tonight it could be quite fun, although there's no chance that hyenas will actually take over the carcass. Not with this amount of lions here. You need a very, very, very big clan of hyenas. The size of the clans you'll find in East Africa rather than here. No, I don't really think they have a favorite part, like a fillet or a rump or anything like that. But I can imagine that, well, usually what they'll start doing is eating the softer parts, and this is below the tail or into the stomach. And they'll remove the stomach contents. There's usually one of the lionesses that will try cover it up, or push grass or ground or whatever over it. But yeah, to them, meat is meat. Whichever shape or form it comes in, there's just meat for them. This Rasmal just wants everything for himself. Of course, it was going to be the grumpy one this year. So he's here twitching. There's a vehicle coming from behind us. I want to see, he might just lift his head now. Just see if he lifts his head. Vehicle, there's a big truck coming past. No, just the ear. Okay, well, that's as much life as we're going to get from him. Well, while we sit here for a little while, we'll send you back to Tswalu with her leopard.
Oh, guys, I wonder if you caught that bit, but there was a bit of a growl from Tafangumi. He brought the carcass down. That is very strange. And then Hart was right there. He almost gave it to her, but grudgingly. And now he's sitting and watching the hyena feast. Ooh, quite pungent. The smell? Oh, I think that was a look up to say thank you, Tafangumi. That's always a little bit, it looks very sad when the leopard loses its kill and it just sits and watches a hyena consume it. But I think in this case, I'm not sure why he brought it down. He could have just happily eaten it at the top. Perhaps the head was just too awkward to rest on the top. This is going to be quite funny. When a hyena drags a carcass like this and there's all that length behind it, it can often trip over stepping on the carcass. I've seen it a couple times. Well, that means that Tafangumi is going to be on the move. Oh, you gorgeous cat. Why'd you do it? Why'd you do it? Hey. He's so beautiful. Well, at least he managed to eat the majority of that carcass, and you managed to give some of it to Hart, so that means that she gets to feed her cubs. Well, think of it like that. Everyone benefits. With a bit of a growl, a nervous giggle, and it's done. He might move off and try to follow her in that direction, but he's not going to fight for that amount of carcass. Well, he's now gone behind some bushes, so I'm going to have to make a move to try and catch up with him. Hopefully he'll go to an area where we'll still be able to broadcast from. I can hear Hart eating, but I can't see her. So if we move a little bit further ahead, I think I can see a little bit just on the other side there. Yeah, I can just see him. So let's move and try to catch up with him. and catch up with heart.
Do you dream of an African holiday in unparalleled luxury? Where your days are spent in the company of wildlife and cooling off in your very own plunge pool? Well, this month's prize may be the one for you. Expertly camouflaged into the unspoiled environment of the world-famed Sabi Sand Game Reserve, it's hard not to fall in love with Simbambili. Sign up to be a Wild Earth explorer before the end of May, and you and a friend could be jetting off to this ultimate escape from reality. A luxurious safari and spa getaway wrapped up in one impressive package. Wild Earth explorers, it's in your nature. The Endangered Wildlife Trust fights at the forefront of conservation, across the vast Karoo and sweeping grasslands, in remote pockets of forest, along road networks, across African skies, and in communities to conserve our wildlife and wild spaces. Help us to protect forever, together. Donate now at ewt.org.za.
It's a huge privilege to be in these incredible places with these amazing animals. I love filming lions. When they do get up and do something, it's always spectacular. When they are playing, are incredibly fun to watch, especially subalterns and cubs. I love being in the bush and working in these incredible places with these amazing animals. We want to bring it to you so that you can almost feel like you're right there and be able to experience it and enjoy it the way we are.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
A very, very happy hyena. Sorry about that, guys, but we're back in action. A very happy heart here. Tabangumi is somewhere. I saw him walking towards her, but now he's just kind of gone down in a bush nearby, watching her eat the remainder of his prize. The effort he put in to take down this animal. But you know, hyenas put in effort to scavenge you, and it's strange. Doesn't the whole purpose of scavenging mean you don't have to put in effort? Well, it means you don't have to put in effort to take down an animal, but you still have to put effort into your senses to be able to pick up if there's a distress call, if there's growls, things like that. Your sense of smell, there's effort that has to go into all of that machinery to make sure that you can actually scavenge. And then all the time, walking around, following animals, that also takes effort. Also, this is a great time to remind you that hyenas do not scavenge. They only scavenge about half the time. And in other areas in Africa, it's even less than that. They may only scavenge about 30 to 20% of the time. The rest of the time, hunting. I'm trying to spot where he is, but he seems to have gone down basically to her west. here he is, lying down, relaxing to the sounds of his carcass being chewed upon by Heart in the background. How cool is that? This is one of those sightings, one of those really, really amazing ones that get stuck in your head. Get to see two predators. You get to see their battle and how it doesn't look violent or aggressive, but they are battling each other, avoiding each other, growling at each other, all those things. It's a really good, I love watching different species interact in the way that they do. This is amazing. I'm glad to share it with you. Let me send you over to Ngala. They've also got a bit of action with their cats.
Okay, so right in front of us is the Nyala female, and you can see she's contact calling. So give it a bit of time. We might have a little cub just bouncing out the grass soon. I'm just going to sit here quietly and see how her ears are twitching. So I haven't really seen the cubs yet. So I'm very excited. That's why we actually parked quite a distance away from her. I'm fairly certain she knows exactly where her youngsters are. And they might just be in the grass in front of her. Yeah, so I'm probably about 70 meters away from this female. And the reason for this is if the cubs are around, they'll go straight to her, and we don't want to be too close to her and then deter the cubs from coming out. So fingers crossed. And see, she's calling. She's looking more and more like her mother, a black-tailed female, as she's getting older. Still a very small leopard. She's got tiny tracks. Yeah, it's her previous youngster that Rule found last night, and that the Ross males probably also found at the end of the night. I think don't worry, she survived. She would have survived. And the Rossmouth then went up and killed a giraffe, and the other one went back down south. No idea what he's doing. So her previous youngster got a part of her territory. She's also still hanging around in the area. Come, Mommy, show us your babies. And I truly hope the babies come to her rather than her going to her cubs. He's keeping a wary eye on us. Well, if her babies are in the area, she needs to be very aware of what's going on around her. Any sign of hyenas or lions or any other predator, especially with babies so small. And they must be about 2 months old now. Sounds like everyone is as excited as I am to see these cubs. Oh, no, come towards us. Okay, let's change our plan. So I want to see where she goes. Pretty sure she would know exactly where her youngsters are. Especially in grass like this, I can imagine they make quite a rustling noise once they move around. Because I can hear rustling more to her right. I can also hear her calling gently. I'm going to reverse and then try go that way around. We'll just try our best to show her and hopefully her cub. While we try find her again and what she's doing and maybe see a youngster, we'll send you back over to Tswalu.
Wouldn't that be something if those cubs were revealed to us? That would be very special. But here Tavangumi is a little bit more curious. He's just watching hard. Quite intently. Look at that. I wonder what he's thinking. I guess there's a part of him that feels quite possessive over the carcass, even though there's not much that he would eat on it at this stage. But that just naturally he feels that it's his and feels quite possessive of it. Yet not enough to fight for it. You can see quite nicely, because we're quite close to him, the spots in the middle of his rosettes here. It's really beautiful. Can you see those tiny little black spots in the middle? Subtle differences like this in the coat, like I said to you, we don't see that too often in the leopards that we know well. The spots in the middle. Subtle differences like this in... Oh, let's send you quickly over to Ngala.
That's cute. Alton. Where's the other one? Two. I'll follow her. Okay, so the cub is out. It is so cute. It's like this big. I'm just trying to loop around because she's walking on the road. And so what we'll try to do is try to get her and the cubby walk straight towards us. But I don't want to approach too closely, so it gives her a bit more space. And the cub, of course, has not really seen too many vehicles before. But geez, I'm excited. Let me see if this works out for us. Okay, there she is. Ah, she's turning off. Don't turn off the road. Still just see her tail. Of course this is going to happen. So we just saw the one. Oh, okay. Good news is you guys did see it. So I could not couldn't hear the comms in my ear. Might be a bit of a strange signal area. I'm just trying to figure out where she went now. Yes, that thing was cute. It looked like a little female. I was viewing through my camera and it lifted its tail once, and from what I could see, it was a little female. So I don't really know what the other cub is. Let's see where she went. There's also, I think, with our movements, the little youngster isn't too used to us, so it might have been the youngster that moved into the thicket, and now the mom is following. I don't want to drive too fast here, but it is phenomenal how quickly a leopard can get lost. She might have actually gone down into the Timbavati River. None of the birds here in these bushes are alarm calling. But how absolutely awesome was that little cub? Yes, that's exciting news. Okay, so Paul can see the leopard. I have not yet. She gone. Okay, cool. James Richard, I'm with you, absolutely. You know, and of course, the first time I really get to see this cub was going to be on Wild Earth. So, how lucky are we? Okay, we are going to loop around into the river and see if we can find her there. If we find our way out of here first. There we go, this is the route we took. Yes, that's exciting. That is just too cool. I was looking down, I want to see how small the tracks are. Tiny, tiny, tiny little thing. But I wonder if the other cub is still here somewhere, because it was only the one following. So the other one might still be hidden in the bush here. Which is fine, she will come back for it, or she'll contact call, probably when we are out of the area. Yeah, let's take this crossing in. Luckily, she wasn't too far from this crossing. Sorry, Mpo, a little bit bouncy. We've been through worse. It's entirely possible that she wouldn't bring them into the river at all because it's so out in the open. But fingers crossed, we'll just try our best. So we left, there's a massive jackalberry that we drove in and towards. And then Mpo saw a crossing right in front of us, which means she won't be too far just in this direction if she did come down. this entire area is just perfect for leopard, especially for youngsters. It's the same thing that lions did, was when they were denning, just leave them on the edge of the Timavati River. Very thick stuff. No luck. I don't think she's come down yet. Okay, so while we sit here for a while, we're just going to try to see if she does come out. She might be walking along the edge. But for now, we'll send you back over to Pinda.
Good morning, everybody, and finally, welcome to And Beyond Pinda. Sorry it's taken us a while to join you, but it is a beautiful morning here on Pinda, as you can see. And we've got quite an active watering hole here this morning. Lots of hippos and bird life. It's all looking really, really beautiful. I'm Kim, and behind camera we've got Johan. So yeah, welcome. Finally, it did take us a little while to get to you, but we are here, and we've been sitting here with the hippos, listening to them calling. We've had some white-breasted cormorants flying right close to the vehicle over our heads, monkeys playing in the trees nearby, and yeah, it's just quite a pretty scene this morning. Hippos are still a little bit restless after the night of grazing. But they are settling down a little bit. And as it starts to cool down, like right at the moment, there's quite a cool breeze. I'm sure you can see the ripples on the water around the hippos, just telling you that there is a bit of a breeze here on Pinda, and it is quite a cold breeze. And sometimes in winter that actually forces the hippos out of the water and to lie in the sun on the banks, just to warm themselves up a little bit. So often kind of come the middle of the day, they'll come out onto the banks, onto the nice sandy banks, and just sun themselves because the water can get quite cold. I'm sure you know about how cold it is if you've been swimming in your swimming pool or something and then you get out and the wind's blowing, it's pretty cold. So all their backs sticking out like that can get quite cold. And hippo's skin is very free of any hair, so they don't have much to keep them warm except for the sun. So yeah, they're a little bit more active, and you see them a little bit more in the winter months, especially out of the water. We are going to send you over to Steve for now. I think we're going to carry on sitting at this watering hole and see if there's any more action to take note of.
Yes, Kim, well, there's lots of action here on Djuma. We've caught up with a very slow-moving buffalo poo. It's very fresh, very, very fresh. We've gone down to the macro level here. You can see the coloration of the yellowish green inside. It's slowly starting to discolor on the outside. Once this is old and been in the sun for a bit longer, the oxidation of it turns black. Okay, so we've got some old buffalo dung there. See, it's much more crusty, much harder, and here's the new stuff. So there are a few insects on here. There's one over there. I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but we had some mating wasps just before. What a wonderful place to come and mate on a pile of steaming fresh buffalo dung. And obviously many of them will lay their eggs inside dung like this. Many flies, insects, dung beetles. Here goes a fly over here. Some of them are looking for the moisture, and some of them are looking for the breeding space. And I know this looks quite gross to all of you, but it's a pat of cow dung that's been very well digested, very well ruminated, and very poorly reabsorbed of the moisture. That's why buffalo are regarded as being very water-dependent animals, because their digestive reabsorption of the water is far less able than that of impala, giraffe, kuru, and the like. So they give these really nice big pats, even in the dry months. Waterbuck will start to reabsorb more moisture. Their dung will start to resemble a little bit more of a wildebeest dung in the winter months. But in the wet months, waterbuck dung will look quite similar to this, if not a bit smaller. Okay, so the ruminant has gone and crushed it up. All that grass material munched up nicely, beautiful place for bacteria and microbes. We spoke about the lions earlier rolling and stuff. They'll come and roll in this dung. It's got a bit of a cow smell to it, and that helps to mask their scent. It's called the eau de boeuf, which helps to take away that very smelly death smell that the lion and the leopard have. At the same time, while rolling in this, they'll actually lick and eat a lot of this, because inside here there's a multiple number of microorganisms busy playing out a life cycle. And it's basically just like taking some probiotics for yourself. If your digestive system's not going very well, things aren't really in the right place, the best place to get them is from the digestive system of another animal that's got all the microflora already happening. And here, there's huge amounts of microflora that are going on. So, 2 benefits, eau de boeuf, nutrients as well. No doubt there's minerals to be absorbed here as well as the micro gut flora, which will help a lion or a leopard in the digestive system of a very large waterbuck, or in the case of a leopard, an impala or duiker. Okay, so I'm going to get myself off the floor over here. The tracks of the buffalo are heading in that direction. We've got some poo, and then he squeezed. Oopsie, sorry about that. He squeezed and had another couple of little... A very good indication that this is probably an old bull. Old bulls often have a little bit of a bottom problem, and so they leak a little bit of poo.
We have received our second batch of name plaques, which is super exciting, and Marcel is busy mounting them as we speak. For those of you that don't know, we are offering the opportunity for Wild Earth explorers to get their names engraved on a plaque like this. Once your name is on the plaque, it will then be attached onto the vehicle. Marcel, what are you up to?
I'm busy mounting plaques on Trusty Rusty.
This means that even though you're at home watching this, it'll still feel as though you're on the vehicle with us as we bumble about the bush. This means that V&A, Prajash, Melanie Greenwood, Linda J. Poley and Stephen Humbert will be riding along with us as we bumble through the bush, even though you're watching it from home. Now that the name plaques are on the back of the vehicle, it's time for us to head out and go and see what we can find.
For many years, Wild Earth has taken viewers from around the world to the Mara Triangle, a place of majestic beauty and abundant wildlife. But it wasn't always like this. Before 2001, it was infested with poachers. Illegal harvesting and hunting was rife. Now the situation couldn't be more different. The hard work and dedication of the Mara Conservancy has revolutionized this magical land. But now, the loss of revenue from tourism has created a grave crisis. The Mara Conservancy needs help if they are to continue protecting the reserve and supporting the local communities whose livelihood depend on its survival.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed.
Welcome back. We've panned across from the hippos and talking about basking in the sun. You can see two young crocodiles doing just that. They're on the sandbank, or mud bed rather. And we were talking about how it's quite chilly and they will be using the sun to keep themselves nice and warm. They stick out quite nicely, that yellow of their skin against the brown earth. And just for a bit of a size comparison, see that massive spur-winged goose just to the left of them. And you can kind of see, when you zoomed up on them, you actually can't tell how kind of big they are. But I mean, a spur-winged goose is pretty big. So they can stand maybe 1 meter tall. Let me double check that. I want to know exactly how tall they think, but I think it is about 1 meter. But yeah, I mean, you can see then how little those crocodiles are in comparison to that spur-winged goose. Right, spur-winged goose, yeah, 98 centimeters tall is how tall it can stand, so about 1 meter. So that gives you a bit of an idea of how big that goose is and how little the crocodiles are. It's so nice for there to be some stuff going on, because since the rains, lots of our watering holes have been relatively quiet. Firstly, because all the game spreads out because there's no shortage of water, but secondly, because of there's some Egyptian geese, because of the rain filling up all the watering holes, the grass goes right up to the edge and there aren't any nice beaches like what you see here for the birds to sit on. That's a woolly-necked stork. You can see the white part is very, very fluffy. He's sitting down. If you can see, his legs are actually bent forwards. And that's how they sit and rest like that. Seems a little bit unnatural, but their legs do bend that way. Actually bend both ways. But yeah, so it's nice to see a little bit more bird life on the edge of a watering hole. And all the grass is starting to die off and create these beaches. It's always such beautiful sounds at a watering hole, is the hippos blowing bubbles, birds flying every which way. There's a white-breasted cormorant over there. It's just flown across the screen. Lots of them are. So they will have had their chicks by now, because most of them are, well, they're all nesting at the moment, but they'll have had their chicks, and you'll consistently see them taking nesting material to their nests, and they'll reinforce their nests throughout the incubation period and throughout even the chick being in the nest. So they're constantly reinforcing it and doing it up. That was a funny hippo noise. It actually sounded a little bit like a white-breasted cormorant. Not that. There we go. Some beautiful noise from the hippos. And we'll send you, I think we might move on from here, go and see what else there is out there. But for now, and while we decide what our next plan of action is, we're going to send you over to Mike, who's on a bushwalk.
So we have been absent for a little while because we've actually been having a bit of a navigational exercise, trying to see if we can keep to a straight line. Hasn't been going very well. Well, actually, no, it's been going pretty well, but we realized that our orientation was terrible. We were going completely the wrong way. We thought camp was one way, it was another. But in doing so, we've managed to find quite a cool plant, of which we don't get many of them here on Pride Lands. And this is called a mother-in-law's tongue. I don't know if any of you have seen this before. It's not uncommon in many parts of South Africa, but here on Pride Lands, we've seen very little of it. Now, when I'm walking around in nature, I'm always looking for things that can be useful in some way. And this plant is incredibly useful. It can make an absolutely wonderful fiber to make ropes, strings, all sorts of stuff. And what I've used this plant effectively for before is starting fires. So now what you do is you take this leaf here, you scrape off this waxy outer layer. Goodness gracious me, there's an impala that's about to run us over. I don't know if you can hear that. Sheesh. That was pretty exciting. I don't know if you could hear that, but this impala went mental and started running. I thought it was going to crash right through us. Busy finishing off their rutting season, so that's quite cool. But anyway, you scrape off this waxy outer layer, and inside is this green pulp. You pound that with a piece of wood until all the liquid is out, and then you can separate the fibers, dry them in the hot sun like today, and within half an hour you've got a nice thick mat of fibrous material. You can rub those together between two planks of wood or two stones or anything at all with a bit of fine dust or maybe even ash in between, and you can create a very hot coal or ember which you can start a fire with. It's amazing. I'd like to show you that at some point. Maybe give me a few days to figure out how to extract this. I don't want to take this one. As you can see, there's not much of it, but maybe if I can find a big clump of mother-in-law's tongue, I can do that for you to show you just how easy it is to produce. But another use for this, even more importantly, because the most important thing here in Africa, the biggest killer, is dehydration if you're lost in the bush. So what you can do is if you dig up the root of this, it's usually not that deep and it's quite thick. It looks just like a piece of ginger. And I'm not going to dig it up right now because, as we said, there's not much of it around, but it looks like a piece of ginger, exactly the same as a piece of ginger. You just scrape the outer layer of that root off, and you can chew it, and it tastes a little bit like a potato, the juicy part, like if you ever crunch on a raw potato, but it's full of juice and moisture, and you can literally get almost a cupful of moisture just from one single small mother-in-law's tongue like this. And in fact, I see a second one just over here, so there's probably a root that goes all the way along here to this plant, so that means probably 2 cups of water, which is definitely enough to sustain us when we are lost. Anyway, luckily we're not lost, sort of, kind of, I hope. So we'll send you over to Ngala whilst we figure out where we are.
Able to find this female and a youngster. Does make quite sense. I mean, if she walked parallel to the riverbed, there's a nice little drainage line here which will probably hide them. And then she might leave them and then just go hunt for the rest of the day. So yeah, I think rather than try follow her in there, I mean, she might be just shifting her den site, and that would be an area where we can't drive to unless we can see it from the Timavati River. So we never make a 2-track to a leopard or lion den site. We don't go off-road for those. So if you can view it from the road, or the 2-track in the riverbed, that's fine. Other than that, no, we won't. Only some viewers are asking about off-roading policies at Ngala. So we are allowed to off-road for big game, for lions, leopards, rhino, elephant, buffalo. Sometimes also depends on the conditions. So if we're seeing a lot of buffalo, we're seeing a lot of elephant, then no, we won't go off-road. But lions and leopards we always go off-road for. Like all the vultures are now waking up. So I think we might try this one last time, just venture on in the road, then go back towards the river, see if we can come back. And maybe she did go down by now, or maybe she just settled in this little riverbed here, the tributary into the Mawati Riverbed, and she'll be suckling her youngsters there. But that was super cool. I'm so glad we got to see them. Very, very, very nice morning. Nice end to the morning. So Dyke is the one that found her, and he was saying, no, she's in this area, and then he said, no, he had visual of one of the youngsters, and then he had visual of both of the youngsters, and so we just had to leave the lions, had to leave the giraffe carcass and try get here as quickly as possible. And our timing was perfect, because when Dyke left, he said, no, he couldn't see the youngsters anymore, and they went into a thick bush somewhere. But yeah, that's the thing, you just be patient. As a kudu, just be patient, and it happened again. It's a female kudu by herself. This looks like she's just relaxing in the shade. Oh, be careful. There's a leopard here somewhere. I actually see the white stripes on her body quite clearly still. So she's not a very old female, still quite young. And very likely there are more females around this area somewhere. Just can't see any of them for now. There's another female. So the stripes on her body looking quite good. It'd be difficult for this female leopard to take down a kudu that big. I mean, she'd try, she'd give it a go, but I think she'll have quite a hard time. So I think, yeah, let's continue with our plan. Continue on, loop back into the river, see if there's any sign. If there's no sign of this leopard and the youngster, then yeah, we'll leave the area. Not too much pressure. Jasmine, if you were watching a little bit earlier, you would have heard me saying that Rule found Inyala female's previous youngster yesterday afternoon. So this is her second litter. Her first litter were also two animals, and we're not too sure how the other one died, but the little female survived, and now she's got two new cubs. Shame the other youngster's not too familiar with vehicles either. The Inyala female's always been rather shy. It was her brother that was the more energetic and just more confident leopard of the two. The Inyala female just grew up quite shy. So what we're doing now is going actually to the next crossing and then taking that crossing back. But I'm fairly certain we're not going to find her again. You know, she was sitting on the road for such a long time in front of us. And then when the youngsters came, yeah, well, tried to loop around. I thought it would be lovely having the two of them walk towards us. And of course, it just didn't work out the way we planned. Shame Trico's still in this area trying to find her. Okay, yeah, let's loop back into the river and see if we have one more lucky chance.
I am so glad that Rowan got that sighting of those cubs. That is amazing. It really has been a great, great morning. Only thing to top it off now, find some elephants. It's been very quiet on the elephant front though. I haven't seen like fresh tracks. When I say I haven't seen, I mean in the last 2 days, because we did have a nice sighting like 3 days ago. And Steve did too. But I haven't seen any fresh tracks around these last 2 days. I was looking for them yesterday also, and I haven't heard too much trumpeting or that screech from youngsters that are being weaned. But I'm still hopeful. We can swing around maybe towards Gallagher Pan, see if there are any there. So usually when they come from the north, I'll see their tracks crossing via tele-access, and I can think, okay, maybe we'll go a little to the south, the southern dams, and look for them, but I don't see any tracks, and I haven't seen any tracks for them crossing these areas. So we're just going to hope to get lucky with those grey giants. I love them. And that would top off my morning as one of the best if I get some elephants. Everything feels very peaceful now, like the morning has settled in for the day, and then it'll come up again, all the excitement in the evening. Well, let me send you over to Mike in Pridelands. He's on bushwalk. I'm going to swing past Gallagher Pan.
I haven't found elephants, but we found the signs of them, and in fact, the signs of these elephants have caused this beautiful knobthorn tree to start flowering June yet, flowering in September, and it's already putting out these beautiful pale yellow catkin flowers, which is spectacular. Now, this is a knobthorn tree, and they are the trees that flower first out of almost all the trees we get here in Pride Lands and the surrounding area. And I have a theory. So we saw it from a distance, and we wondered why is it flowering. And my theory is that perhaps this tree has been basically killed by an elephant, and that's why the tree is starting to put out some reproductive material to try and, propagate itself before it dies. So we'll come a bit closer and just have a look at this tree now, because you can actually see the very pale bark here from where it's been completely debarked by an elephant. Yep, nothing all the way around it. It's completely free. So the elephants have come and stripped all this bark off to try and get some of the nutrients, especially probably when it was dry last season, and there was enough moisture, there was enough sugary materials left in this trunk to keep it alive for just one more season. And then it's using the very last of its energy. You can see there's actually 2 knobthorns here. This one's also been completely debarked, and both of them are putting out flowers. So it really seems to make sense to me that they're trying to cross some reproductive material. Maybe birds and other animals will come and pollinate, take this to other trees. If there are any others in the area that might be flowering, it's like the tree almost... these trees are living organisms, and they can communicate. We know that for a fact. We know they release chemical signals that warn each other of danger. So there's every chance that a tree could know that it was dying and send out a chemical signal of some sort to give itself leaves, or flowers rather, to try and breed. Now, it's unfortunate that there's not too many other trees around here that are flowering, but it's really amazing. Jerome, it has a kind of beauty, there's no doubt about that. It's kind of a little bit of a morose kind of, or melancholy, I should rather say, feeling to know that this tree is probably not going to live more than the rest of the season. But seeing those bright yellow flowers, or those very pale yellow flowers with this white trunk, beautiful contrast with the blue sky, it really is quite a scene. And it's even more beautiful, Jerome, as the springtime approaches. All of these knobthorns have no leaves on them, and they just produce masses of these flowers, which are really sought after by birds, by giraffes, by monkeys and other creatures as well. Squirrels love them because they're high energy stuff. And now there's not a lot of insect activity right now, so this tree is really maximizing every chance that it has to breed. It's just I can hear a sunbird right now that's also landed somewhere in this tree. It sounded like a white-bellied sunbird, which is also feasting on nectar from flowers and also the insects that are attracted to them. Really nice to see that this tree is really giving its all, even though it knows probably not going to last much longer. And not only has it been debarked, it's also now, likely to be attacked by wood-boring insects. It seems to have so far avoided any sort of insect attacks. Oh, and here's a cool ant that's coming down. Well, the ant is not really doing anything to the tree. What a shame, but a beautiful tree nonetheless. It's one of my favorite of all the trees that used to be ex-acacias. Beautiful knobthorn tree.
If you love to watch Wild Earth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions. Join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at and beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through and beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide and most importantly the questions that you ask give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Well, I've just come from Galagopia, no any luck. But that's okay, I think this afternoon I'll really be trying to focus on finding some ellies. It just brightened up to such a beautiful day, and there's just this hint of coolness that's running through the breeze. So it's just a really cool, well, really magnificent temperature. And technically cool too. But the warmth in the sun is so soft. Lovely. Like I said, it feels like everything's settled down for the morning, not the afternoon. It was a really stunning morning. Let's see what's happening here on quarantine. Don't see much though. Usually the herds are already around. A beautiful Birchall starling. Hi Ranger, you'd like to know if we've noticed more debarking in the winter seasons. It certainly does happen more during the winter, and that's because there's a lack of grass, and most of the leaves have dropped of plants, of the trees. So it does happen more in the winter, although you will see it in the summer very much too. We've seen it a lot in the summer that's passed. But you kind of feel it most when you're coming out of the wet season, but the grass is starting to get quite dry, so it's not the elephant's immediate preference or first preference. Then you see a lot of debarking of the trees, because then the cambium layer is still lovely and juicy, and particularly so because of the water. In the winter, it is also very, very juicy, and that's why it's particularly sought after by the elephants, because it's a part of the vegetation that remains very juicy, and the cells are very much alive. Lots of sugars in that cambium. I love the colors in a Birchall starling. So, so pretty. And especially in this light. All right, well, let me send you over to Ngala for now. I'll give you a quick update.
Quite an interesting morning, or busy morning on Ngala. I mean, we've got the Rossmel with some of the lionesses and two youngsters. They're feeding on a giraffe in the north. In the south are the sub-adults, so the two white lions, and then another old lioness. And then, of course, right in the middle, you've got the leopard with her two cubs. And actually, just a very cool morning. Struggling for words this morning. Yeah, we've let her be. I'm pretty certain she's gone into that thick drainage line there. Hopefully now with both her cubs. And we'll just leave her like that. Move out. She'll probably go find something to eat. See if she can catch some impala or something, and then later on when it gets dark again she'll go back to her cubs. But very, very, very nice to see them, or the one cub at least. Can't get over how small it was, and shy, very, very shy. You can see every time we followed it, it would almost hunker down onto the ground and then pop up, follow mom again. It's a lovely morning. Hotlick saying cutest thing ever. I absolutely agree. Any baby animal, really. I mean, lion cubs are the same, exactly the same. It's just these leopard cubs are always so shy, whereas lions, they're shy for about a day or two. And then they see, no, but their mothers aren't really reacting to the vehicle. So then they warm up to the vehicle or bitch rate a lot quicker. Whereas leopard cubs, their mother has always been shy. So I'm pretty sure these two are going to just grow up shy as well. Okay, so we are slowly starting to head back to camp. Truly wonderful morning. And while we just drive and reminisce about the leopard sighting, we're going to send you to Tswalu on Juma.
Oh, he's gonna love his breakfast this morning, Rowan is, after having a brilliant drive like he has just had. Well, these two wildies, lovely wildebeest, are just chilling out here in quarantine. The wind has picked up quite substantially. Not terrible, but definitely a lot more than it was this morning. And you know what that means for a lot of the animals out here in quarantine. They'll huddle together. Well, luckily now that the sun is out, they're not too much at risk as they were early on in the day. Oh, isn't that beautiful? A bit of digging going on. And you can see the wind picking up and carrying that dust. Oh, lovely. Oh, isn't that just beautiful? There you go. Yes, you rub your scent into the ground there. You'll find that males will really push their heads into the ground, and even they'll have glands along their feet, or rather along their hooves, that they'll use to scrape the ground as well, deposit their scent. And with this breeze, it's really a spectacular sight. And a bit of a scratch too. Seems like they're just enjoying the last few minutes, at least for the drive, last few minutes with us, but they will continue to enjoying their time out here in quarantine. Ooh, I can't talk in these last few minutes of drive, or last few seconds of drive. Well, they're going to enjoy them, and we are going to head to camp, much like Rowan, and enjoy our breakfast. We hope that you will enjoy whatever meal you're about to have. Thank you for your questions and your comments. We'll see you this afternoon. Bye-bye for now.